The teaser trailer for the season 2 of Percy Jackson has just released, and I want to go over it. There's some areas that I want to praise, and then there's some areas that are pretty critical that I want to discuss because it has some impacts for the future of the television series and what it means for the later season. So, without further ado, let's just jump right into it. Okay, so this scene right here, I just want to talk for a brief second. I'm actually liking this scene because I think that this is the Sparta warriors, the skeleton warriors that get summoned when you plant dragon teeth. I think that's what this is. I seem to remember that Carissa, she had some dragon teeth from her father that she could plant, so I think that's what's going on here. Not 100% sure, but I thought that's what this is. So if that is, I'm actually pretty happy with that.
Great stirring is underway.
Not quite sure what they're looking at here, to be honest with you.
War is inevitable.
Some creatures, so I'm glad to see this, that Grover is out there again, hunting, searching, because that's pretty much what happened at the end of the Percy Jackson and the Lightning Thief book, is that after everything was over, Grover packed everything up and he went out searching for Pan, because he got his searcher's license. So that's what we see right here. So I'm glad to see Grover out in the wild on his own. So this has to be Thalia's tree. This is Luke poisoning, and I always presumed that the way that Luke poisoned it was like with a syringe or with a monster. I never thought he actually used his tail to stab into Thalia's tree to poison it, but I guess that detail doesn't really matter. I didn't expect him to use his blade to stab it into the tree. So just something interesting I wanted to mention here as we're continuing onward. Now here's Carice. She's way too hot, okay? This actress that's playing her, Carice in the books is a little bit more ugly. Just being honest with you there. She's not this attractive. She looks more like a dude. This chick, she could probably still kick some dudes' asses, but she looks more hot than Carice does. I'm going to put you a picture of what I think Carice should look like, more like. I can't remember the name of the wrestler's daughter, but Carice should look more butch than this. So I'm not having any issues with the actress, but not quite the way I'd expect. Also, let's take a look at the guys behind her. So you guys don't know the reason why we see a World War II sailor's uniform here and a gentleman in a toga is that these guys are coming from different time frames in history of wars that died heroically. That's what's going on here. See, Ares gave his daughter Clarice a warship with some of the best warrior zombies, and that's what these guys are. They're here to serve Carice as she goes on her mission to procure the Golden Fleece. One more thing though, just before we move on, I do find it interesting that they're using an electric gas-powered engine for their boats, because, correct me if I'm wrong, but I thought old technology was a detriment to demigods. Is it just cell phones that they can't use, and they can use other electronic devices like electric started engines? Well, I guess this would be a gas-powered engine, so I guess this should be fine. Yeah, this should be fine. This is an electric, so okay, yeah. Maybe I'm just overthinking it here, because the reason why you can't use a cell phone as a demigod is because it's pretty much sending a signal to all monsters like, hey, I'm right here, come get me, I'm a free meal. I'm just too dumb to realize that I shouldn't be using a cell phone. That's pretty much why you don't see demigods with cell phones, at least in the books. I don't think I've seen that happen yet in the series, that the demigods are using cell phones. I'll have to go back and rewatch season 1 to make sure that's the case. But that's the reason why you don't really see any of the demigods with cell phones in the books.
There are forces more powerful than...
Now, this knife here, I have no idea what this scene's all about. I don't remember what this be indicating. This definitely isn't Grover. Skin tone is not dark enough, so I have no idea who this would be. This is a wood carving blade with what appears to be ketchup on it, not even blood. So, guys in the fake blood department, do a little bit better, okay? That just looks like something I would have on a cheeseburger. So come on, guys, let's step up the game. But this scene here, I guess someone just died on the shores. I can't really say too much more. This looks like something a satyr would carry, because they wouldn't want to carry metal. They would probably prefer carrying wood carving weapons. But yeah, I can't give you too much more details on what this could be.
More powerful than the will of the gods, my son.
Now this This makes sense. Percy's had several dreams throughout the book series, taking to important events. Now, exactly what draws him to him, I'm not 100% sure. Uh, Rick Dorian never really tells us exactly how this happened. It just seemed like Percy would get attracted to major events that be going on between Kronos and Luke, or some deals going on with some gods. Always would seem to happen at a critical moment that Percy would need some critical piece of information to help the plot along. So that's a little bit of a plot hole. I know that he explains it somewhat in the Aller series and the Percy Jackson universe, but within the Percy Jackson series itself, I never really felt like Rick Dorian did a good enough job explaining how this affected Greek demigods and specifically how Percy was able to master this ability and go places. I always presumed it was just fate, but if someone has a better answer, please let me know down below because I'm still a little bit unsure of exactly how that all works out. Now this is going to be the chariot race that's going to be going on here. Now I thought this really took place more in in book 3 and 4. Actually, no, not book 3, but more so book 4. But maybe they did have some chariot races in season 2, if I'm remembering correctly here. She said it was so long ago I can't remember, but I'm glad to see that they're bringing this in because the chariot race is one of my favorite parts. Because if you guys have ever watched the movie Speed Racer, where they have their cars fighting each other, that's pretty much what happens in these tournaments here. Although the demigods, I guess you could say, are more so the ones who are uh, using their physical force as well. But the chariots definitely have their own quirks to them. So I'm hoping to see that play out in this season to see if they bring in those unique chariots. So we'll see. And this dude right here, who the heck is this guy? Carl, go after the appearance of the person. The appearance does not matter in the show. Percy doesn't look like what he's supposed to look like. Grover doesn't look like what he's supposed to look. Annabeth doesn't look like the way she's supposed to look like. This dude right here, this dude could be anybody. In fact, all this dude, he wants to bum a cigarette off of Percy. Dude, why are you trying to bum a cigarette off of a 13-year-old boy? Come on, get yourself a life, man. What the heck are you doing? Like, you gotta do better, man. Pull it together. Stop needing a smoke break every 30 seconds. Just go, cut it, and do better. Like, what the heck are you doing? Like, that's probably not the case, but still, man, like, who the heck is this guy? Let's do better here, Disney. And this is probably the island that we're going to. This is probably Prometheus, the Cyclops that's going to be holding on to the Golden Fleece, and Grover. That's probably what we have going on right here. What do I say that? Well, I don't think it can be Half-Blood because it doesn't match the terrain. It definitely looks more like an islandish area. It's a giant figure that's standing here. That's a pretty big giveaway. So this is probably the area. The only thing that's really missing is where is all his sheep? There should be flocks and flocks of sheep all over this area. So I'm not really sure about that. So I'm looking forward to see how they explain that and how they implement that into the story. And this dude right here, I'm going to have to presume this has to be Kronos. This has to be him, right? Or am I just wrong for thinking that? Because it definitely looks like him. Like, one of his old names he had was the Crooked One. I cannot stop it in the proper place, but he has that crook there. And as the Crooked One, I'm going to presume that, indication right there. He had several names in Greek myth, Greek legend that Percy Jackson had in the books I'm not remembering right now, but I'm going to presume that figure is him, just indicating he's rising from the depths of Tartarus and he's coming to reclaim his throne as the king of the Titans. I'm presuming that's what we have going on here. Here in this scene, we have Percy facing off, I presume, Clarice, because we have this gentleman here in the Viking armor. So I'm going to presume that this is part of her entourage. So this is what we have going on here.
Brace yourself, Perseus.
So what's this figure supposed to be? Like, part of me is thinking, like, this has to be Poseidon, because look at the green that's around him. It kind of reminds me of a lighthouse lantern that a lighthouse keeper would take to go bring out the light to protect ships in the storm. It definitely looks like that, but Poseidon didn't really have that much interaction with Percy until, like, the fourth book and the fifth book, the Battle of the Labyrinth and the Last Olympian. Yes, I know he had the interaction with Poseidon at the winter solstice, or was it the summer solstice? I can't remember which one. In the Percy Jackson and the Lightning Thief. True, but that was just a special occasion. Otherwise, I don't really think that Percy had much contact with his dad in the second book or the third book. if I remember correctly. So this is a little bit of change to the story as well. Is a big issue. Kind of. It really shouldn't be that present in Percy's life yet. The more present that he is in Percy's life, I think draws more attention, more danger to Percy. So I think that's something that he would show up more later on. But at least that's my thought process. So we'll continue on and see what happens here.
Look, Peter, we all know that last year you did something cool. But honestly, I don't even remember what it was.
Perfect. Perfection. At least as perfect as level 1 can get. This Mr. D is actually the Mr. D that I remember reading the books. He's a bit of an asshole. He's a bit of a jerk. He doesn't care for the kids that can't have blood. He doesn't really care for his little cousins. He's only here because Zeus has ordered him to dry out for, I think it was 1,000 years. So he's just an asshole to everybody. And this has a little bit of that to it. It doesn't have much bite, but at least it's better than what we saw in season 1. He at least has some remnants of Mr. D, of Dionysus in him. So he's at least a little bit of the jerk. So let's go back and re-listen to that again, because very rarely do we get to see characters acting the way they should in this show.
Look, Peter, we all know that last year you did something cool. But honestly, I don't even remember what it was.
I don't remember Percy ever being in something like this. It's cool, but I don't remember being in one of these unsinkable vessels. So that's new. Okay, let's talk about this for a moment here. I have no idea what creature this is. If you can tell me what creature this is, because I do not remember from the books. This looks like it was what Clarice and her warriors were riding up on. And I'm going to presume this is the sailing ship that Percy had control of. I really hope not, because in the books, I always thought that his sailing ship that he has was this massive rig that he had just direction going on when he was controlling it. But maybe I'm wrong and maybe I'm misremembering it. But I thought he had a massive, giant sailed sailing ship that he controlled, and it wasn't just some rinky-dinky ship like this. So I hope that's not the case, that this is what he had, but I guess we'll have to wait and see.
We're headed.
And let's take a look at this right here. So this doesn't even make sense for the kind of ship they're going to be riding. Why are they riding on what appears to be like a World War II boat with a 50 cal on it? I think that's a 50 caliber. If someone can correct me, greatly appreciate it. But again, a deviation from source material.
We're headed into the sea of monsters. You sure you're okay to
let's
do
go
this?
back there. So this is what I was talking about. So Clarice and Percy are going to have several run-ins within this book series. Eventually, Clarice is going to take them on, and they're going to travel together for a while. But yeah, this is good. I like seeing that they're fighting each other. You can tell that this is part way into the story because we have the zombie sailor here. So this is good.
You sure you're okay to do this?
We have Grover out here singing his tune. I don't know which part this would be in. This has to be in the beginning part of the story. And we'll get into why this will be the beginning part of the story later on to see if they actually bring it up. And they don't. It's just a teaser trailer, so I guess I can't criticize them too harshly. They don't have it, but there's a scene I'm waiting to see if they have that they don't. I'm a little bit disappointed. Okay, let's take a look here. So we have Luke here leading a charge of warriors. But why? Like, at this point in the story, these should be monsters. They shouldn't be demigods, especially them being so old demigods. Like, just making it to your 20s is a massive achievement as a demigod. Getting to your 30s or 40s, as it seems like some of these people might be, it was a little bit unbelievable because of how much demigods are just hunted in this world. Now, I guess it's possible, but it's very unlikely to survive. Also, let's talk about Luke's sword. It's not a good sword. It's not Luke's sword. This sword should be a vicious weapon. It should be half celestial bronze and half iron steel. A completely diabolical weapon that is forged with diabolical means. And why am I hyping on this so much? Because celestial bronze, the weapons that most of the Greek warriors use in the Percy Jackson universe, use celestial bronze to kill monsters, but when it hits a human, it slides right through. This blade is specifically designed to kill monsters, kill demigods, potentially kill gods, and kill humans by using human sacrifices, human blood as I said, it's a vicious weapon that was forged for Luke, but we don't have that here. Now, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe that comes in later books, but I thought by this point, I thought in Sea of Monsters, he had his signature weapon at this point. Now, I could be wrong. Now, we have a good fight going on here between him and Percy. So, Percy has the fleece. He's taking on Luke. And honestly, he should be getting his butt kicked right now by Luke, because Luke at this point in the story is still a bear fighter. Percy doesn't really get onto Luke's level until probably the last Olympian. Like, Percy has a long ways to go to catch up with Luke, because Luke is one of the best fighters at Camp Half-Blood. So the fact he's even holding his own in this form right now is a little debatable. Now, why am I saying this form? In the show, or in the books, if Percy gets to be in water, he gets a big power up, enough to fight even a god. But now he looks like he's dry, not even wet, so we'll have to see what's going on. Technically, he should never actually appear to be wet. So that's another point. So you can't even make that argument. I just wonder what they're going to be doing. Good, good, good.
Let's go do the impossible.
Oh, we have another. I think that's a Cyclops, or is that just a giant that's throwing? Okay, that's just a monster. Okay, this I have an issue with right here. So, yes, technically in the Sea of Monsters story, Percy does get saved by Tyson from some monsters throwing some flaming balls at them. But that was at his school that he had just transferred to. His previous school had expelled him, so he's at a new school. He meets Tyson there. These monsters throw flaming balls at Percy. He's not able to really defend himself all that well against them, so Tyson steps in and swats him away and exposes Tyson to be a Cyclops. And during that whole commotion, blows a hole in the wall, and Percy and Tyson escape, with Annabeth showing up out of the blue out of nowhere, and all three of them escape. This scene, why are you doing it in the woods, man? That's not how it actually goes.
What?
Yeah, that's my thoughts.
So this is your boyfriend, huh?
I never said boyfriend. I never said boyfriend.
I believe you.
I have issues right this. So right now, in this part of the story, Annabeth is still working through her feelings and her emotions towards Percy Jackson. She has not yet even really acknowledged that she has a crush on Percy yet. Like, it's fine that Ada's in there. It's not the biggest deal. But Percy's and Annabeth's relationship development romantically, it wasn't necessarily the bestly done by Rick Riordan throughout the series. But I did like it more than just a blatant, like, oh, is this your boyfriend now? Are you girlfriend, boyfriend? Like, you have to make that blatant for the audience. Like, come on. Kids aren't that dim-witted. Like, you don't have a bunch of 5-year-olds watching. At least have some implications, some relationships, some bonds going on. You don't need the literal fates to tell them, like, hey, you two like each other, don't you? Come on. Let's be real here. So yeah, so that pretty much concludes the trailer. I said I wanted to discuss a few things here. The one area specifically I wanted to talk about had to do with this scene right around here. Not this one specifically, but this is good enough to stop it on. We don't see Grover wearing his wedding dress. Now, you might be saying, Carl, why do you have an issue with someone not wearing a wedding dress? The reason why is that that's a major plot point in this film. You see, the Cyclops Prometheus captured Grover as he's chasing him to eat Grover, because Grover was looking for Pan, and he just so happens to be caught up in Prometheus' trap. And Prometheus is tracking down Grover, and Grover ran to a dress shop trying to hide, got into some dresses, but unfortunately, he wasn't able to hide from the Cyclops. Now, when Cyclops captured Grover, he was in a wedding dress, and due to his bad eyesight ever since Odysseus poked his eye out, he wasn't able to realize that what he had just captured was a stray. He thought it was a female Cyclops that he wanted to marry. And so that is what's going on. That's why Grover is still alive, living in Prometheus' cave, trying to survive. The reason why he hasn't had a marriage with the Cyclops yet is that he has to make his train, his veil, for the marriage ceremony, and he keeps delaying it as much as possible. And Cyclops is just dumb enough to just like believe it. Like if you're dumb enough to realize to think a stray is a Cyclops, yeah, you kind of get what's coming to you, in my opinion. There. So that's what's going on here. The fact that we didn't get see that teaser trailer, I don't know. It's a disappointment. Like for the most part, I don't want to see dudes in dresses, but there's a reason and a plot point behind that they should have had in a teaser trailer. Maybe they'll have it in the actual trailer, but I don't know. I'm a little bit iffy on this one, in my personal opinion. What do I think for the season 2? I have some concerns. I have some worries. We never got to see them on the ironclad Civil War battleship. We never got to see Chris commanding the Confederate soldiers. We didn't get to see any indication that they'll be having to go through the 2 pillars that would crush any ship that passes through them. We didn't get to see the whirlpool monster or the cliff monster with the many heads. I can't remember what it is. It's like a Hydra creature. So maybe we'll see that more in the following trailers. But at this point in time, it looks okay. I got some critiques for it, but we'll see what happens. But you guys let me know what are your thoughts down below. I can't wait to read them. Take care now. Thanks for watching. Bye.